You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Off the Mountain Podcast. I'm here with Pastor Tom Touchstone, Pastor Ron Vietti, Vince Sierra, I'm Josh Vietti. We all have one thing in common, multiple things in common, but one of the things we have in common is we all are on staff at the church that my dad Ron here started back in 1975.
Almost 50 years ago.
Almost 50.
And he stayed put, and that's amazing. So he has learned a lot in 50 years of ministry, as has Tom in probably, 30 years?
28.
Yeah, about 30. I've been in for...
Your life.
25, yeah, my whole life, right? Vince has been in for quite a few years. So we are in that mindset of... we are Christians. We believe in the Bible. We are leaders in the church, but we also believe that there are many things that people are missing out on when it comes to just practical knowledge. There's stuff that we've learned over the years, right? Pastor Ron is kind of a health nut. He's had a couple cancers, and that caused him to really delve into certain literature and learn about diet and what it does for you. And Pastor Tom was Mr. California in 1985. He had a career before this career, and he was a professional bodybuilder. And so he knows when I have a question about exercise, bodybuilding, diet, I usually come to Tom, not my dad, because my dad will tell me to eat. He'll tell me to eat like barley or something, or some sort of greens. He'll tell me to go veggie, yeah. Right? And but it is good to listen to him as well, because he is much more of a health. Let's put it this way: Pastor Tom is GNC, Pastor Ron is Whole Foods, right? Like that's the difference. Now, not really, but you guys do know a lot, and you guys definitely have credibility in that. So what we're gonna do today, and a quick disclaimer before we do it: we're not doctors, we're not nutritionists. We're all interested in getting healthy, right? Healthier, and being that it's the beginning of the year. We want to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it means to be healthy, and not just physically healthy, but mentally healthy and spiritually healthy, because I think that is health of the whole person. And that's what God has called us to, so that we can be effective in ministry, and so we can be there to love, I
am so excited about this podcast. You're going to want to tell people about it. We're going to hit on some areas that are going to blow you away.
I have a quick illustration about the importance of health.
Okay.
You asked me the other day, why would you want to be healthy? And I said, it's because I want to be present, and I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to be there for my family, my friends, and my community. I was pulling out of my neighborhood the other day, and I pulled up to a scene. I that's the best I can describe this. It was a car parked diagonal, blocking the street. And there was a long piece of metal underneath the front of the car, and there's this older lady, and she's trying to pull. She's a tiny lady. My mom's really small. She was smaller than Mom, Dad.
Wow.
And she was trying to pull this thing out, and there's this teenage, 19, 20-year-old guy just watching her. And then I roll down my window. I say, "Hey, what's going on? You guys okay?" And the kid looks at me, and he jumps in his car and just spins off, runs the muffler over, almost hits the lady.
Wow.
And so I was like, man, and then the lady went down to try to pick up that muffler again and drag it across the street. So of course I'm not going to just, leave. I'm like, I'm involved now. I'm part of the scene. And so I jumped out and I just grabbed the muffler and I talked to this lady, and I ended up talking to her and asking her, what's going on. That the kid was one of her family members, and she was frustrated and she was having a hard time. And not only was I able to help her physically with that muffler, it was heavy and hot, but I was also able to minister to her, and I gave her a hug, and I just said, hey, she said it first. Actually, she said, God is good. And I said, God is good. That's right.
Wow.
And it was such a cool moment. But if I wasn't healthy, I wouldn't be in my mind, my body, or my spirit. If I didn't have any health at all, I wouldn't be in that place to do something simple like that. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying that it's those little things that God kind of puts in our path. And we need to be ready for those things. And that means being healthy.
Well, and I want to stay healthy because I'm getting older. And a lot of people think I should retire. I don't say a lot of people think I should retire. In society and culture today, at my age, that's the normal thing to do. I don't know anybody around me that's telling me to retire. But I still want to go strong for 10 more years. Mm-hmm. And I have to be healthy in body, soul, and mind to do that. Amen. But back to the question, why is it so doggone hard to stay healthy? Yeah. I know in my life, it's usually because of my schedule. Because when I'm at home, I'm used to getting up and working out first thing in the morning and having my green tea and my green juice and doing all of my things. But when I travel, it's really, really hard. The fast food restaurants just cry out my name when I go by because maybe I haven't eaten for 2 or 3 hours and I don't know when I'll get a workout. And so schedule's one of my problems.
You know, it's funny. We lived in, as you know, you sent me over there. We lived in San Luis Obispo for a year. Right. And when we were there, they outlawed drive-throughs. Right. There's not one drive-through in that town, or at least there wasn't when we lived there. And that was such an eye-opener because you had to drive to a place, you had to get out. And I ate out so much less because there wasn't drive-throughs. You had to walk in. Think about our life, our sedentary lifestyle, how easy it is, right? You wake up, you get in your car, you drive to work, then you drive to the place to eat. You don't even have to get out of your car. You just drive through, you get the food, you drive back, and you drive back home.
It's easier now. They'll just bring it to you. You can just Uber Eats
You don't even
right
have
to your
to leave
house.
your house.
You don't even have to leave your house. You can say, I want that thing I'm craving, and it'll show up.
And it's the convenience that I think traps us a lot of times.
Our careers and all of the stuff going on right now is killing us. They say that sitting is the new smoking. And fast food places, I mean, think about it. You can feed a family of 4 or 5 pretty cheap.
You can.
And so there's all of these things crying out to you saying, eat here.
Yeah.
And then a lot of us have computer jobs. We're sitting at desks all day long. And all of this is really wreaking havoc on our health.
Talking about the media stuff, have you heard that people are starting to grow bones in the back of their shoulder blades?
I've
their neck,
never heard that.
because of their
They're looking
phone
down at their
use, 'cause they're
devices.
looking down
no.
at their phones. It's actually causing us to evolve as a species.
Probably a calcium, yeah.
Yeah, it's some
wild.
kind of bone development in the back. It's insane. Yeah.
It is.
Well, now, Tom and I were talking. When Tom and I travel together, because we're both really diehards in this area, a lot of people would like to travel with us. First thing we do, Tom, what is the first thing we do when we get a hotel room?
Well, and I think what you said too, Pastor, is you can't stay at home all the time.
Right.
We've got an active
We
lifestyle.
have to travel.
We've got to go places. There's a church in Vegas. So Pastor Ron and I, when we go someplace, it's a preference for us to have a place with a good gym.
Yep.
Either the hotel has a good gym or we're next to a gym. The next one is to have a Whole Foods around us, if possible. If not, someplace that we can go and have a healthier choice of food.
But we know a lot of our audience out there, they're not where we're at. I mean, we're talking about this subject because it's very, very important to us.
So some people, I don't know where you're at out there, but I've learned the importance of just being consistent with moving your body, exercising your mind and your spirit. But anyone can exercise. You can walk, you can run, right? If you did what, Tom, pull-ups and push-ups and ran, you'd be in shape, right?
You can just do seated squats without a chair,
Right, yeah.
And you're exercising.
What are those? What's that exercise? Up downs? What do they call them?
Burpees.
Burpees.
Yeah, burpees.
Those are like
Your mother started laughing at me because I've taken this so seriously and I've been sitting a lot lately on my job. At home, I'm on the computer, I'm on the iPad. And so one of the things that I do to wind down is watch a football game or some sports event. And every time they advertise, I run around the room about 4 times and I do some twists. And I sit back down. And when they advertise, I run around the room and do a few twists.
It'd be funny if you're
That'd be like a new
walking
TikTok.
by your house and looking through your window at night. You know?
What the heck is he doing?
What's that guy doing? It's crazy.
I think too, it becomes hard for people. My wife's into these shows. You've probably seen them like on TLC and stuff, or these different channels, that they have these shows on. But like My 600-Pound Life, and it's about these people that have basically let themselves go. And a lot of times it comes back to the same stuff, like it just kind of got away from them because they didn't know when to start or how to
I felt
start.
so bad. I was at a restaurant the other day and there's a lady and she was probably like 400, 500 pounds. And I felt bad for her. I was like, man, no one ever taught her the importance of health. And she had kids with her. And the husband was like going back and forth and getting her food and stuff.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, man, like he's trying to look out for her in one way, but he's doing it the wrong way. Just it's education, dude.
Right. Well, and I think it's education, but I think it's for those people that have got, because some people can't do a burpee, they can't do this.
Sure.
And I think for them, it's just going to be starting with what they can do.
Yeah.
'Cause
Small things.
You can start changing your diet today. You can start changing your physique. And Tom even knows this more. I know I got to a point when I was in high school and I started gaining weight. And I just didn't have the education. And then, I started hanging out with you. You started saying like, hey, that has a lot of calories. I'm like, calories? I'd have to go. And this is before Google. I'm like, what's a calorie? Like, I have no idea. You're only supposed to have 2,000 of them. I think I'm having thousands and thousands.
Right.
So it's like, and then I kind of ruined my body. But I feel like starting simple and doing little things, I was able to come out of that and retrain my body to basically adapt to the damage I've done, but also reverse some of that damage and,
Right.
but that started with education.
Well, and it's not just about fat or skinny. It's
No,
not,
right.
we don't, obviously, I'm not taking care of my weight right now at all.
Yes.
And we don't really
Well, I'm not saying
stress
for you,
on
but
that.
for me too,
Well, we
yeah.
don't really stress on that as much as we stress on just being healthy.
Staying healthy.
Right?
Yeah.
Not being sick, eating vegetables and doing all that stuff and walking or running. I was up in the mountains last week at 7,500 foot elevation, and I was gasping for breath. My breath wasn't there. That frustrated me to the point where I'm doing cardio now, and I'm also trying to push my breathing while I do that. So I will get on a treadmill and I'll walk. I'll just walk on the treadmill because I hate running.
Anything.
I'll elevate it. I'll elevate it. I'll walk. And then sometimes I have a home gym with the little treadmill. And so sometimes I will, and you can do this walking around your neighborhood. I'll hold weights while I walk.
Well, Vince said little things.
Right.
For example, 3 days ago, Debbie and I were out shopping, and I said, man, I didn't get a walk today. So we parked our car away out from the store.
So good.
And I said, okay, now we'll have to walk further to the store. And when we were in the store, she was shopping. So you through? I said, I'm through. So I lapped the store 3 times while she was shopping.
That's so good.
I mean, you have to get used to this
it's
fact
crazy.
that walking is cumulative.
Well, with our culture today, people aren't even doing that anymore. I mean, it was good to see people at the stores this year shopping, but it's so much easier to just get on that keyboard and order what you need to order, right? Like people, people used to get exercise literally from going to the store and walking out. Like you said, like there's Instacart, and that's a great company.
And then there's
I use it sometimes.
Right, you
but-
can drive right up to the stores now, and they can just
and
bring
they'll bring
you.
it to you. Yeah.
Well, I
It's
think
pretty
Pastor
wild.
Ron said it. Sometimes it's purpose.
Yeah.
And Pastor, wouldn't you say this? There again, you've always guided me through seasons of my life. Pastor Ron would say, well, Tom, wait till you get 40. You got 40. I'm like, he was right. 50, 60. I haven't got...
Now it's 70.
Yeah. So I'm just saying there are seasons. So Pastor, wouldn't you say if people didn't think they were going to have to start over a few times in life, they would be misguiding themselves? I remember
Very true.
when you had a couple surgeries and you weren't able to go to the gym, you started back out like it's all over again. When I had my heart issue, I started out and my wife told me, Tom, I need the old guy back. Not going to tell you when, but I need him back. So I started by walking around the pool one time.
Yep.
One time, and it scared the heck out of me. I'm talking about a guy who used to be able to squat 658 pounds, and I couldn't get up the courage or the strength to walk one time.
What's a 10-minute rule? If you can just say, hey, I'm going to go walk for 10 minutes.
Yes.
Usually if you commit yourself to those first 10 minutes, you'll go 30 minutes.
Yes.
And again, it can be little things. It doesn't have to be big. You don't have to join a gym, as Josh said. Yeah. There's many different ways of getting exercise.
Well, what's funny though, with the gym, once I get there, I'm there.
10-minute rule.
I'm gonna work out, and I'm gonna get a workout in, and so the gym can be a good thing for some people. They need it. Other people, just go for a walk as far as you can, and you got to get home. So you're gonna double whatever.
You
You're gonna
no
double
choice.
it,
And I
right?
think it becomes hard for people too because they want results really fast. And I think we live in a culture where we want instantaneous results. We want things to happen tomorrow, and working out and being healthy isn't always an overnight thing, for the most part, unless, you have a miracle like we see in the book of Daniel where he eats, these foods for a short amount of time and all of a sudden his whole body changes. It's
So,
probably more of a miracle story than a diet story.
Yeah, Laird Hamilton.
Right.
You guys know who this guy is. He's a world famous waterman. He is a surfer. Him and some other guys developed towing surfing.
Right.
Laird is probably your age, Tom, I'm guessing.
64.
Yeah, somewhere
He's a
around there.
beast.
And ripped.
say it.
He's ripped. He's like in good shape. But he talks about with diet, he talks about the 3 devils. He says white milk, white sugar, and white flour. He said those 3 things should never be in your diet. And I want to get to the place where I'm not.
I was going to say, wait a
where
second.
I'm not doing that.
We're going to address sugar here in a moment. But talked about little things. When I was 13, I had a choice on my 13th birthday of either a new pair of shoes or a set of barbells. Now, previous to that, and you say purpose, what was my purpose? Why did I at 13 want to get in shape? Well, when I was 13, I would go to school and all my little buddies were farm boys and they were really, ornery, tough little rascals. And we would have something called physical fitness tests. And the teacher would get out this clipboard and I couldn't do one pull-up. And I remember my little buddies would do 3 or 4 or 5 and they'd say, okay, Ronnie's turn. And I would try my best to do one pull-up, and all my buddies would be going, go, Ronnie, go. It was humiliating for me. And so I said, I'm going to start lifting weights. Well, I didn't have weights. So I went home and got my mother's iron because it had a handle.
That's it.
I filled it with water and I started doing weights with her iron. And so on my 13th birthday, it was new shoes or barbells. And man, it was a tough decision because I had a little girl at the church that I liked. And I thought those new shoes would really get her attention toward me. I took the barbells. And then my freshman year of high school, I set the record in my freshman class of 22 pull-ups. But there was a purpose behind it. Some of you out there listening to us today, man, I'm just going to put it to you right, smack dab in the middle of the eyes here. Some of you are going to die if you don't start changing some of your ways. Mm-hmm. You're eating bad. You're not doing any exercise. The handwriting's on the wall. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but there has to be a purpose behind it. And we've got to stay healthy. There's a phrase I've went by for a long time is we don't live to eat, but we eat to live. And so what is your purpose? I'm asking the audience out there today, your purpose is to start getting healthy.
You know, Pastor, wouldn't you even say, because you said, and you do this all the time, every Sunday, and every time you get up and preach, you have an epiphany for me. But if you're out there, you probably know you need to do this.
Yes.
It probably isn't. It isn't. And you know what procrastination is thinking that I'll put it off and it'll be easier later. It's I don't need to do it today because there's time to do it. And I think about what Josh said about the person that was a little overweight and what you were talking about, Vince. And you just if you just take a little bit of time and you walk, Pastor, you get an iron. I love that. My brother and I, we didn't have that ability, so we got sticks and we'd get the old coffee cans and fill them with cement.
That's great.
And we'd work out with them. But you did what you had to do.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes, there's a will, there's a way. And right now, I love
It's funny you're saying that because right now I have a little home gym that I'm building, and I'm not wealthy by any means, so I'm just I'm buying piece by piece. And my dad gave me some weights, and they you have to use Allen wrenches to get them off. They're all rusted and messed up. And I was thinking, I have those. I'm like, I need another dumbbell, but I'm like, I have those. I can use those.
Yes.
It's not a big deal. It's just a little bit of work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if it's worth it, it's usually hard. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and
Because things in life.
I think it's worth it because it is hard,
Yes.
Tom.
Yeah.
I think that whether it's working out, whether it's working on your mental health, or whether it's becoming spiritually mature, all those things and all the things we accomplish in our lives and our families, all those things are there to be blessings.
Yes.
And to be something of worth. I think about what Jesus said a lot of things. By the way, I think Jesus was pretty healtty. Don't
I
you
do
guys think
too.
so?
He walked a lot.
He worked with stone too, didn't he?
He didn't have any stress.
Right. Ate a lot of fish. Over there, if you ever go to Israel, when you take a little tour on the Sea of Galilee, this is a side note, but they take you in a boat and they talk about the storm on the sea and all these things and the loaves and the fishes and all those things. Then they take you to a restaurant and they ask you if you want pizza or fish. I immediately say pizza. Because I know what the fish looks like.
The fish is
plop
so
the
good.
fish down and
With the heads, the
it
eyeballs.
has a face. It's looking at you.
But it is
the
so good.
entire thing. I never tried it.
It is so good.
But the reason I mentioned diet with exercise is because they kind of go together, don't they? I mean, input, output.
They have to go together. And I know Tom's like me, and I think you're a little bit like me. It's hard for me to really diet when I'm not exercising. They kind of go together.
They do.
Well, you see guys in the gym who they're strong, they're
Yes.
building big muscles. But like me, when I start working out, my fat just it just grows out further, and that's what happens. And you're not necessarily healthy. You're just getting stronger. Maybe it'll help your heart because you are doing some resistance training. But ultimately, I think the ideal person is somebody who, think about why you need to be healthy physically, right? You need to be healthy physically in case you have to save your kids. There's a that's
a good reason. Yeah.
If there's a fire and you have to grab both kids underneath each arm, I have two. You have more, Vince. So it'd be harder.
I have to get four.
Your wife will have to grab two. You grab two, and I believe your wife would.
Yeah.
But there's lots of different reasons why we would need to be physically healthy, and you can only do that, I think, with the right diet. Because if you don't fuel your body,
Well, talking about
it's gonna
diet.
break down.
Okay, one of the hard things today is what I call recreational eating. And a lot of people make that a habit where, it's like, hey, man, let's go out and eat and talk. Appointments at the office. Let's meet for lunch. And is it safe to say that some of these fast food places, some of them probably don't use the best ingredients? They're
Sure,
not thinking about your health.
They wanna
They're
make a
thinking about
profit.
making money.
Profit.
In-N-Out is actually known for making their burgers with good ingredients, even though they're burgers. But most of those places, I mean, you just go to certain taco places. I won't say the one that we're all thinking about, and the meat doesn't look like meat.
Well,
the beans.
I
Don't
don't
beans,
care.
You know?
I am a Taco Bell freak. I have to have it every 3 or 4 weeks. That is my cheat day, my splurging.
They had a healthier menu for a while, right? Taco Bell.
And I don't know. I don't know. I don't think about health.
I feel
when go
bad
there.
because a lot of people are probably listening to this while they're driving, and they don't have a lot of options to eat. So, Chipotle is good.
Let me tell those people driving what Debbie and I have done now for years, because these fast food restaurants they scream out my name when I drive by. I can swear they're saying, Ronnie, over here. My
funny.
wife carries this big purse, and she'll have Ezekiel bread with little peanut butter wedges on them, and we might have organic trail mix or little pieces of fruit. And that's one of the secrets of the trade. When I'm traveling, to keep from, rushing into one of these fast food places and gobbling down everything I see on the menu, if I stay full, what's the verse of the Bible? Proverbs 27, and it says, a person who is full refuses honey, but even bitter food tastes good to the hungry. And so I have to keep myself, and then again, one of my secrets of the trade is every morning I have this big protein shake. Now, Tom, is it true that protein keeps you from being hungry for probably 2 or 3 hours?
Well, it triggers a huge digestive process, and so it does.
It's the glycemic index, right?
Every morning I get up, I throw 2 apples, organic apples, a half of a banana, some blueberries, and some mushrooms, and some almonds, and I grind it up and eat it.
And
if
you want a protein shake on the go, don't go to one of these juice places because they a lot of times have added sugar. What I do is I go to Starbucks and get the perfect bars because they're actually have really good ingredients and a lot of protein as well.
And going to
grams.
that, coffee has some good health benefits.
Yeah.
But it's the sugar they put in the coffee that's going to kill you.
Exactly.
I got to go back to that Proverbs verse because that's so good. Sorry, I know I'm probably on the camera. I probably look hung up. That is so good. That is such a good verse.
But
and
it's true.
You know what else is good about that verse though? Is you got to look between the lines. You always say this, Pastor, and what it's not saying. When you're not healthy, you don't know what it actually feels like to be healthy because you're so crammed full of junk. You've eaten bad stuff. You've never put yourself in that regiment. So you continue to fill yourself with this bad junk because you don't have this hunger for health. But when you get healthy, you know what that feeling is to be healthy and you can never go back. And that's what you have to get. You said, why don't people do it? It's because they've never had that feeling of being actually healthy and knowing what good food is. Or in the analogy of good food, what having good health is, mentally, spiritually, and things. So I love that. Really good.
Let's bait people here.
Okay.
Because in this broadcast and the next one, we're going to touch on a lot of subjects. We're saying a lot about diet right now and exercise, but are there reasons why cancer is an epidemic today? Heart disease, diabetes is an epidemic. I mean,
Hormones,
to me,
Pastor.
it doesn't just happen for no reason at all. There's a reason behind it.
It's hormones too. People's hormones are all messed up because they're adding hormones into our food. And so people, when they'll come, and men will come with a low testosterone level at an early age, and it's like because they've been supplementing it, because it's been added to the chicken, it's been added to the pork, it's been added to the beef. And if you don't pay attention to that,
and that's
you're going to run into the problem.
That stinks because that's the affordable meat and the affordable cheeses. And, like if you want to get the actual organic stuff, it's expensive.
Very expensive.
I think what we need to do is we just need to start farming our own stuff. That's what we need to do.
Well, in a perfect world, we'd all have a garden in our backyard. We'd have cows we were raising and chickens. But some of the things we're going to hit, some of the topics we're going to cover this week and next week is drinking water. And I want to talk more about that. Hydration is huge.
Pastor, don't they say 2/3 of Americans are walking around dehydrated every day? And it's got so many health issues associated with it.
I felt God spoke to my heart. In fact, I know it was him. During my bout with leukemia, which is one of the 2 cancers that, I have become victorious over with by God's strength, been victorious through by God's strength. Let me get a little word tied here. But, at one place in my life, probably about 3 years ago or 4, I was having a lot of joint pain. And I went to God and I started praying. I said, God, I'm I'm having joint pain. I can't live with this, man. I can't function with this. And I started praying for wisdom because the Bible says if you ask for wisdom, you'll get it. And all of a sudden one day someone was talking to me and they said, you have joint pain. Do you drink water? And I said, no, I hate water. They said, you need to drink more water. So it kind of, it struck a chord in my mind and I was thinking about it. Probably not 12 hours went by and I was turning through the TV channels and somebody had a program on drinking water. How important. I said, okay. So anyway, a lot of things started happening in 2 or 3 days that have the subject of drinking water in them. And so I was driving down the road, no joke, stopped at a stoplight and I was praying. I said, God, are you telling me to drink water? If you're telling me to drink water, then I need to drink more water. And I want to know if this is you. When I got through praying, looked up, and a big truck, like a working truck, a box truck, pulled up beside me with this big advertisement, like 20 feet by 10, stay hydrated. Now, I started drinking after that 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. And what was happening, it makes common sense now. I take a leukemia pill. It's a chemotherapy pill, and I'm taking these medications. And those medications, God knew that I needed a lot of water to flush those through my system. When I started drinking a lot of water, my joint pain disappeared. And it was God who really led me to that.
Well,
So drinking water.
Joint issues are connected with a lot of prescription drugs.
And they stay in your body if you don't flush them out with water.
Yeah. If you look at the side effects, it's funny. America, our culture is so anti-health. It's ridiculous. I mean, really anti-health. If you think about it, any problem we have, there's a pill. We have commercials for pills. We're one of the only nations in the world that has commercials for prescription medications, right? It says, ask your doctor about this, right? And you go in and you ask your doctor and they put you on this thing. And like you said, those medications need to be washed through your system.
They do.
I'm a sucker for Red Bull. Vince is drinking one right now. And that's probably
Sugar-free.
podcast day. Mine wasn't sugar-free. But I've learned, like you said, that caffeine also dehydrates you. And so I will drink 2, this is sparkling water. I'll drink 2 of these or even regular water after I have a...
Well, people don't know that. Some of the
drink
people might not know listening
coffee.
to us is that, you're drinking a lot of coffee or tea and you think, man, I'm staying hydrated. No. You need more water because that will dehydrate you. But going back to some of the subjects we're going to touch on.
Water's like it's like the oil in our joints, right? Isn't it kind of like it's
true.
It's what makes our bodies work.
Well, I don't know the amount, but I think we're maybe a couple pounds of organic material if the water all gets drained out of our body.
Our bodies are about 60, 70% water.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to be talking about, again, is I don't think that cancer is happening for no reason. And I think if you get down some of the things that we'll be talking about the next 2 podcasts, it'll really help you. We're going to talk about EMFs, electromagnetic fields. I've got a lot to say about that. They're wreaking havoc in people's health. We're going to talk about stress. Oh my gosh, stress is huge. Obesity, lack of exercise, VOCs. Now, this is something that most people don't really think about. VOCs, volatile organic compounds. We're going to talk about all of this stuff, and we'll take our time with some of these issues. So there's a lot of things in combination that's wreaking havoc on our health. Yeah. And some people are not even, cognizant of these things.
Let me ask you guys this. Let's give advice to the person who has never really had a good workout regimen. They've never had a good diet. Where do they start? What do they start with? What do you think?
Well, you could start, if you have the money, join a gym. Join a local gym.
A lot of deals right now this time of year.
See a trainer there and say, look, I've never really worked out. Most of them are pretty educated. They know pretty much what to tell you to do.
There's also free, there's videos on YouTube and stuff. And not that it's all good, right? But I would look at the views, look at the reviews, watch what people say, because more than likely, people that know what they're talking about are going to get on there and they're going to say whether that person's legit or not.
Learn a few exercises and start walking a little bit every day and doing a few things with weights and just get a starting point.
So I have an app that I really like and I recommend it. It's called Playbook, and they're not a sponsor of ours. We're not getting any money from any of this stuff, but Playbook, it has some of the world's best trainers on here, and they talk about diet. They talk about the work. They give you the full workout.
Sounds like an ad to me. Did you get paid?
I didn't.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm getting free.
Just for your audience, for our audience out there today, just start doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Something. Any forward progress is going to be good.
And I think, like you said, there has to be a purpose. Simon Sinek has a book out. It says it's called Start with Why.
Yeah.
And I think your why is really, really important when you start in training. I know for me, one of the things that motivates me, and Pastor Ron and Tom, I think you can speak to this. When I start working out again, I like to set a goal for myself at the end, even if it's a small goal. Like, hey, I want to see myself be able to complete a 5K. I want to be able to run 3 miles in 3 months. You know, that's my goal. And so I set a small goal, something that's attainable, so that when I get to the end, I can I can just check a milestone marker. Hey, I did this thing. I didn't think I could do it, and so I can be proud of. You know, now my goals have gotten bigger as I get healthier, but I think, you know, maybe
I've
setting
done
goals.
that. We've done that together. We signed up for a race together. That was
Yes,
probably
the
the best
Spartan race.
That was probably
We
the best
both-
shape I've ever been in. Honestly,
We both. I think I got down to like not that it was all
Yeah.
about weight, but I was like at 185.
my wife looked
and
at a picture
Yeah.
of me during that time, and she's like, "What were you doing during that time?" I was like,
we were running hills.
trail running, and
Or for some people too, a simple goal might be, I'm going to stop ordering everything on the internet and I'm going to start actually going to the store,
Yeah.
parking quite a distance out, walk in the store, and that's a start.
right.
How about even as simple as like maybe cutting, you know, if your goal is just being healthier, maybe, you know, I don't know where you're at, but just cutting what you eat in half if you can, you know, depending on what you're doing.
Well,
but,
a
you-
simple diet be if you eat 2 cheeseburgers, eat 1.
right.
You
There
know,
you go.
well,
Yeah,
Tom,
just
that's a
simplify
start.
it.
Tom, you gave me
start.
some great advice when I was younger. He trained me in football and stuff, and it made a huge difference. But you said, what did you tell me to do when I had a diet? I mean, when I was eating, you know, whatever I wanted to eat as a teenager.
Well, I told them when you're younger, there's things you can do and you can get away with, but it's developing a habit. So replace it with something equivalent.
But you always told us to write it down.
Yes.
Write down,
Absolutely. Journaling. That's working out or nutrition because
always-
you're going to fit and you're going to forget what you did. I love
Right.
what Vince says. I set a goal last year, and I think it's something you keep doing. When I was younger, I set a goal as winning a contest and moving on, maybe lifting a lot of weight. But when I got older, I said I want to do push-ups. And I remember, I think I even told Vince this. I started and I took
Yeah.
a push-up challenge and I did 5, and I'm like, what the heck?
Well, there you go. For people out there that can't afford to join a gym,
Right.
just say, I'm going to do so many push-ups every day, so many sit-ups, and I'm going to walk a certain distance. That's a starting
and
point.
most people have like a local hill or a local, park that has
Yeah.
stairs. Like going uphill for me, like I can't run really well because I have a messed up back and it's been hurting a lot lately. So I will find a hill. There's one out at a park by our house.
Another thing I think is huge too, and they have a lot of these groups, and I've been to them. But there are fitness groups that you can get involved in with other people that are on your same journey. And I think
Facebook
getting on a
groups.
journey with somebody else that's in your same, you know, in the same area of health, joining a gym with somebody or going, you know, a running group.
Having
or
a partner is really good.
Yeah, having a partner
It is,
really
but
good. Thank you.
You're
You
thinking the same
simplified it.
thing I'm thinking, Dad. You hate partners. You like working out by yourself.
I'm saying for a lot of people, it's good.
It is. Yeah,
not
it is.
for me
But
personally.
For me personally, you have to find what's best for you, right? I mean,
100%.
For me, I would rather put my headphones on, listen to music, and go do it myself.
And I like work, which is so weird. I love working out with people. I love, and not that we're talking the whole time, but going to the gym with my son has been
accountability.
It's been so fun being able to work out with him and seeing
would
him
be cool.
grow. And so it's again, wherever you're at in the season of your life, like we
Well,
said, simplify it. Start
you're
somewhere.
at the point in life where your son starts getting stronger than you and faster than you.
he's way faster than it's yeah.
Well, there's a purpose in that. And you tell people, you know, I just took up a new one where I want to do pull-ups, and I couldn't do one the first, about 4 weeks I couldn't do one. I'm up to 4 now.
That's awesome.
But I'm just saying, challenge yourself. Parks, pickleball, find a partner
yep.
or join a league and just pay
See, I
something
want to
easy.
play pickleball, but I just haven't found anybody to play with you.
I'll play. Yeah,
I'd love to play
Oh man, I
pickleball.
think I'm in
love
on pickleball
pickleball.
too.
It's
Because
Yeah.
I used to love racquetball.
Yeah,
Loved
it's cool.
racquetball.
It's like tennis, but less running.
Well, you know what? I want to
I don't
change.
know.
I want to change directions here for a second. You said something to me years ago, Josh, and it really resonated. And I know it to be very true today. I was eating healthy food and I was working out all the time, doing all this stuff. And you said, Dad, let me tell you something. Stress is what's going to kill you. Stress. Now, I want to read you a verse. Proverbs 17:22. It says, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Now, I've been diagnosed with leukemia. I don't have it now functioning in my body. I mean, I beat it at this point, but that has to do with the bones. Now, a lot of people have heard of Norman Cousins. He was a political journalist. He was an author. He was a professor. And he had a severe life-threatening disease, and he was given one chance out of 500 of ever making a full recovery. And Norman Cousins decided to find his own therapy, and he says he healed himself through laughter. Through laughter. He went and rented all of these candid camera episodes. He had people in the hospital start reading jokes to him, and he laughed for, I don't know, an hour or two every day. Laugh, laugh, laugh. And he has written books and stuff saying, this cured me. Now, again, doesn't the Bible say that laughter is a medicine?
Good medicine.
It's a good medicine. Now, I'm going to take you somewhere right now because this just stokes me. Man, right now is we need to call somebody and say, hey, turn on the podcast, Off the Mountain. I really got stoked in the pulpit a few months back when I came across this book called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton. Now, get this. In this book, a former medical school professor and research scientist explores his own experiences, or his own experiments, and those of other leading edge scientists that have unraveled in ever great detail how truly connected the mind, body, and spirit are. It is now recognized that genes and DNA do not control our biology. Instead, they are controlled by signals from the outside of the cell, including energetic messages emanating from our thoughts. Now, I want to take you a little further in this. Jesus tried to say something. And again, I go back to the Bible because I love the Bible. He said to people, let it be to you according to your faith. And then he said, your faith has healed you. He said that to some people in the Bible. Now stay with me. Just give me just 3 minutes here. Lipton used to clone human cells and put them in dishes to observe their behavior. He says he would put food over here, put a cell over there. When he came back, the cells had moved toward the food. In another experiment he did, he said, I'd put toxins over here and put the cells over here close by. And when I came back, the cells would move away from the toxins.
Wow.
He said that our cells have three behaviors. They'll move towards signals or away from signals, or they'll ignore them. He said cells are digital, and you are giving cells information about your environment daily. And they're either in a growth stage or a protection mode, one of the two. And they both take energy. So he said, where are the cells getting their energy from? Because there's only so much energy to be received. He said they're taking energy from cells that are normally used for growth, which gives life to the phrase scared to death. He said today our cells are receiving and they're being bombarded by all this stuff we're hearing on the news. There's food shortages and the air quality is getting bad, and we have global warming. The viruses in China is killing people. And he said, we're receiving these messages and they're affecting us at the cellular level.
Wow.
My wife, I've noticed through the years, when she gets real upset about something and starts crying, she'll be sick the next day. Now, our mitochondria, you want to look this up.
It's huge.
Our mitochondria is affected by stress. They say acute stress may damage mitochondria within hours, and mitochondria is there for our immunity. Now, he goes on and he says some very interesting stuff. He says, we all have viruses in our body, but our immune system cancels them out. He goes on to say, virus cells are opportunistic organisms, and they can't thrive in good health. Once our health is bad and we're stressing out and whatever, then they're opportunists. Now, and he said this last thing, and I'm going to let you discuss this. He said the same hormones in stress are used by medical professionals today to shut off the immune system in people who receive organ transplants, because they don't want your immune system working when you get an organ transplant, because the immune system will come against the new organ. Yeah. So they use the identical same hormones used in stress to shut down our immune system.
Wow.
Now, it takes a lot of energy to run our immune system, and there's only so much energy we have. So when you're stressing out, you're using up the energy that's there to heal you. In the same token, when you eat pesticides, when you take preservatives in your diet, that's taken the energy away from your immune system. For example, I know of a guy who was diagnosed with leukemia, and they told me he's going to die within a year. He quit his job. He quit everything he was doing as far as workload and career, and he went fishing every single day. And you know what? That dude forgot to die. He forgot to die because the stress was so connected to his health.
Yeah.
So if you want to read more on Dr. Lipton, I mean, it just blows me away that he says the way we're thinking is affecting our DNA. Our DNA is not in control. It's the thoughts that we're putting in our mind that's killing our DNA and doing damage to our DNA, and then our DNA is wreaking havoc on our health. That was a lot of stuff. I hate to hog it.
That was
I
so
had
good.
to say that.
I like
That was really good.
I like it because I've read for years that, you know, stress can make you sick, or it can definitely affect your immune system. It can also derail you from doing the right thing. You know, it can actually keep you from keep you distracted from working out and eating right. Because if I'm stressed, right, and then let's say I'm running out of time, I'm running late, and I'm stressed, I'm going to run to Starbucks. I'm going to get a coffee, probably some sugar in it, and you know, maybe I'll grab a burger too. It's just your habits are bad when you're stressed, right? But hearing that and hearing the background of why, of what stress actually does inside of your body, it's really interesting. I mean,
It leads credence to the fact that stress makes you sick.
so there's the link right there between physical health and mental health. And then I believe there's also a link between physical health.
So every time you get stressed
health.
out for like 20 minutes, get real stressed, you're killing the mitochondria in your body.
Yeah.
And they're responsible for your immune system. And so I'm convinced right now at this point in life that stress is probably doing more damage to us than the food we eat, the lack of it. It's probably one of the key factors.
I had a whole list of stuff that stress causes. And so if you have some of these, I'm not saying it is because of stress, but it can be stress related. They say headaches, muscle tension and pain, chest pain, fatigue, change in sex drive, upset stomach, sleep problems, depression, all that can come from being stressed out. I wrote down when we were talking about procrastination, because I wrote down procrastination is actually tomorrow's stress. And I was just thinking, why do we stress?
So-
Because that has to be a big, I mean, we're talking about stress and what it does, but why do you think, especially now, why do you think we're so stressed out more than ever?
Well, stress is a normal function of the body, and it actually has a purpose,
Sure.
right? If you are in the woods and you see a bear, you're going to feel stressed, right?
Right.
And you're going to want to get away from that bear, especially if it's aggressive. You're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel that release of hormones. You're going to feel that release of adrenaline. And if you run, you're using that up. You're using that adrenaline up. You're using that, right? The hormones.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Exactly.
You use that up, and that's normal. That's like what you're supposed to do. I think what happens in our culture is a Facebook post causes that same reaction in our bodies. The fight or flight reaction releases the adrenaline. Then the adrenaline just chills in our body. You know, it stays in our body, and so we're just worked up. You ever got worked up at your desk about
of
something,
course. Right?
And the outlet we think sometimes is to repost or comment. But really, you should probably go work out. You should probably go move your body, right?
Bidget, you're saying that. Let's talk about some of the ways we eliminate stress.
Okay.
I said something to you the other day, Josh. Some people, they suggest that you have a worry day.
Sure.
You have a worry box.
Or-
And everything you want to worry about, you put it in the box. Oh, for example, last
Even
night.
one time, even like for an hour a day or 30 minutes a
Say,
day.
hey, on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, I do all my worrying. So if I'm worried about something and it can wait, I write it down, put it in my worry box. I take all these out on a Wednesday, and I worry between 2 and 4. Last night, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I started to worry about something. And I always tell myself, disengage, disengage, disengage. You can worry about this at 10 o'clock tomorrow, but right now you're not to worry about it. So you said working out can eliminate stress. Maybe having a worry day.
So some of you guys know this about my past. It was just last year. I was diagnosed with severe depression. And so I went away for a month to a facility in Edmonds, Washington called the Center under Gregory Gantz. And I'm telling you, that place is amazing. What's cool about that place is they are Christians, they're Bible believers, but they also believe in the whole health, the whole, spirit, mind, body health. And so when you're there, they will, if you're a believer, they'll put you in a Bible class, right? If you're not a believer, they'll put you in some sort of art class or something like that, something to feed your soul. And then they will also give you a list of foods you can't eat, and they will shop for you. They go and get the groceries for you the first day. And this is all covered under insurance. I mean, it was amazing. I had to pay a chunk.
You loved that place, didn't you?
I loved it. I mean, it changed my life because not only were they doing that, then they taught me something called, every day I would go through a group therapy called dialectical behavioral therapy, and DBT for short. And in that, we learned 4 modules. And the 4 modules are mindfulness, which I think is the most effective thing that I have ever felt. So did you guys know that mind wandering, thinking about the past or thinking about or worrying about the future, is directly related to unhappiness? Mm-hmm. It's directly related to stress. It's a lot of things. So one of the simple things that we can do is just be here, be now, in your mind. Be present. You know, I'm filling this cup. This cup is right here in front of me. I'm seeing it. I'm talking to you guys. And so as I've practiced this, I've learned how to connect with people better. And that has actually caused, I think, myself to be healthier. The second, let me just run through these real quick and then we'll move on. But the second thing is interpersonal effectiveness. How good are you at managing the relationships that you have? Are you allowing people to steal your time? Are you making sure that you're spending time with the right people? You know, and for us, you know, we all have families at home. Tom, you guys have a dog. You have a little dog, and mom, dad, and then Tom, you have a
wife with 2 cats and a dog.
Bunch of animals.
I have 2 hamsters too.
The 2 hamsters. No, but you guys are empty nesters, but you still have us. You still have family, and you want to make sure you prioritize that, right? So the third thing is distress tolerance, learning how to suffer. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like in the Bible, doesn't Jesus talk about that a little bit? Doesn't Paul talk about that a little bit? You will suffer. You will suffer. I mean, we see this all through the Bible, but we think that we shouldn't have to feel something bad. And when we do feel bad, what do? Pop a pill, or we,
right.
You know, some of us will.
Because we don't think we should feel bad. Again,
if it's psychological, we'll turn to drinks. We'll turn to drugs.
I have preached for a long time that your expectations equal peace.
Yeah.
And even when you get married, if you go into marriage thinking, you know, we shouldn't have all these problems, we ought to have, you know, this romantic bliss, whatever, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Right.
But if you go in expecting problems, that's a part of the journey, then you're not going to be freaked out when they appear.
My wife is a nurse, and she started off in the ER, and not just any ER, a very busy ER, one of the busiest in the state of California, which is saying something. And she would come home, and she wouldn't give me specifics on the patients, of course, but she would say, man, people need to learn how to cope. People have poor coping skills. And what does that mean? It means that you're able to get through tough times. You're able to withstand tough times. And how are you going to do that if you're constantly distracting yourself from the hurdle? And what does this have to do with health? It has everything to do with health. Right. Because if you are constantly distracting yourself through drinking or eating sugar, or you're distracting yourself with TV, that's going to affect your body, your mind, and your spirit. So let me just say the fourth module in DBT. If you guys, and the reason I'm bringing DBT up for mental health is because it's one of the most effective, if not the most effective, cognitive behavioral therapies that there is on the market. And I think it's biblically based. I know it is. The fourth thing is emotion regulation. How many of us, and you taught me this, Dad, a long time ago, and this kind of lines up. Anger's a habit, right? Tempers, it's a habit. When you get frustrated with somebody, what happens if someone makes me mad and I blow up? What's happening in my body? I'm allowing that fight or flight syndrome and the adrenaline rush and all that stuff to take over.
Right.
And I don't have an outlet. I'm not, you know, on a mountain being chased by a mountain lion, or, you know, whatever it is. It's you have to have an outlet, man. You have to have an outlet, but you also have to make sure that when your emotions come, because they will, emotions are normal, you have to have a way to utilize that.
Well, let's go back, because I'm not through this subject at all, because I believe stress is so detrimental to people out there. I want to stay on this for a second.
Yeah.
How do you eliminate stress? And I said a worry box, a Sabbath rest. Now, see, I just preached Sunday on, you know, we want Jesus as Savior, but you can't have him as Savior without making him Lord. And if you want to hear more about that, go back to Sunday's sermon. But The Bible teaches that the Sabbath rest, we're supposed to take a day to rest. Laughing at yourself.
I was going to say, you just mentioned laughing. That's a huge one.
Laughing at yourself.
Yeah.
Prayer. Look at Philippians 4:6. Now, again, what I'm going back to is my sermon on Sunday. Jesus is our Savior. That means he's saving us from stuff all the time. But he can't save you from stuff all the time if he's not also Lord. That means master owner. In other words, you have to obey his word or you're not going to be saved. For example, Philippians 4:6, do not be anxious about anything. Now that's an instruction to us. But in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And if you do, the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ.
There's so much in that passage. That's one of the most powerful passages in the New Testament, especially today with people that are dealing with stress and anxiety. But being thankful is a huge key to overcoming anxiety, because anxiety is kind of it comes from a fear of not getting. You think you're not going to get what you need to survive or live or to thrive, or you think you're going to lose what you have, right? And that's the stress that comes with anxiety. And if you or you're going to lose a loved one, or you're going to lose, so it's about loss, really, ultimately. Or
sometimes anxiety, if you've had an anxiety attack or you've been clinically, I know for me, I've never been clinically, like somebody said, you have anxiety, but I know myself. I've been in situations where a moment will come upon me, and it's almost like I have this like out of control feeling where it's like I have to use the restroom. I instantly, my stomach hurts. I'm like it's so
that's trauma.
It's true. It is. Yeah. It probably comes from things in my childhood. Yeah. We talked about this in previous podcasts before about my sister dying and having all that stuff. And that's probably stuff I'm working through still. But a lot of that comes back to what you're saying, Pat. If you're able to take that moment, and I would add into that, not just thankfulness, but being able to have a moment of prayer. And when that stuff happens to me, I'm able just to take a deep breath and just pray. And for a lot of people, instead of taking that time, they immediately try to fight that thing that they're feeling.
I've said this exact same thing in sermons before, where I'm standing up there and I just say, listen, how many of you guys right now have a roof over your head? And they like nod and wave their hand. Right. How many of you guys have enough food to survive? How many of you guys have water? Right? How many of you guys have a couple of friends or a couple of relatives? If you have those things, you don't need to worry about what you don't have, right?
Right.
And I know that sounds super hippie, but that's actually very biblical, right?
Well, again, but this verse says pray with thanksgiving.
Right.
And the whole idea of that is when you pray, thank the Lord that he's heard you. He's going to take this. And I know by experience, it's almost magical. If we want to eliminate stress, we got to learn to not allow ourselves to be anxious about anything. When we feel the anxiety coming, take it to God in prayer. And it says here almost magically, if you'll take it to him in prayer, believing he hears your prayer, this peace will replace the stress.
Well, like you said, belief is huge. You just said that. You said if we believe, and I think that's huge. I think when not only do you pray, but you believe in the thing that you're praying. We watched a thing a couple weeks back. You sent it, Pastor, the NFL player that got hurt. One of the sportscasting networks said a prayer on national TV. And I love what he said in the prayer. He said, we're praying for, this player. And he said, I wouldn't come to you. And he said this on national TV if I didn't believe in prayer. And I thought that's so huge because sometimes we go to prayer, but we actually don't believe the things that we're saying.
Hey, Dad, are you looking to see if you got fired?
No, you know what? Well, what I was trying to find, I could not believe it. When you went to Google this prayer of this man that prayed on ESPN, it had a warning. It says the content might be disturbing to some.
Crazy.
It didn't take them 5 minutes to slap a warning that you're going to hear prayer and prayer might be disturbing to some people. That really kind of made me angry. But in the same token, the devil's out there and he doesn't want you to know that prayer is going to resolve stress.
Well, we're living in a society right now where you're not allowed to disagree with anybody.
Oh, gosh.
You're not allowed to label anybody. Unless they want to be labeled.
But let me go back to stress again.
Then you have to label them that way. Right?
Some time ago, I talked about Masaru Emoto. He's a Japanese researcher. And if you add this to what I said earlier, he was exposing water in glasses to various words, pictures, and music. He had put water in these glasses, expose them to various words, pictures, and music. Then he would freeze them and examine the crystals. And this was mind-boggling. He would take the crystals that were formed as they were frozen during hard metal music or whatever, or ugly words being said or whatever, and they were really ugly crystals. He would take the crystals that were formed from hearing soothing words and prayers and beautiful music, and they were beautiful crystals. Now, again, this goes back to the stress thing I'm talking about. Our body's 60 to 70% water. And I'm telling you, please hear me. If we will do just one or two or three things, primary things, watch what we're eating, get some exercise, and watch the stress. Learn to eliminate it. Get it out of your life. Don't live with it. Like that guy that was supposed to die, who forgot to die because he eliminated all the stress out of his life. So I think we're probably pretty much through with this topic, but
well, one more thing.
I wanted to squeeze it.
One more thing to add to what you're saying is, which I think that illustration with the frozen water really speaks to, is watch what you listen to, watch what you watch, watch what you're allowing to come into your head, and your kids, man. Like, kids are little sponges, you know?
God inhabits the praises of his children.
Yeah.
And Tom, you told me this, and you might not remember it, but when I first was diagnosed with leukemia, given 4 years to live, I was in prayer one day and I felt this strong impression, like God said, you know what? Start putting headphones on and listen to praise music. A lot. And I didn't get it at the time. Once I started looking at these experiments by Masaru Emoto, I started thinking, wait a minute, my body's 60 or 70% water.
You know,
and I'm listening. God told me. Now, Tom, what you don't remember is a friend of yours, he was a big bodybuilder, and he called you one day and he says, God's told me to start listening to praise music. And you shared it with me, and I go, what? Again, it's like science now is proving the Bible.
Yeah.
Even with Dr. Lipton saying what you think about affects your DNA. And Jesus says, your faith has made you well.
you're preaching now.
Oh, I know.
I love it.
Podcast.
Can I add?
It's
Can
very
we
good.
squeeze two more things out of the stress thing?
Yeah.
I think one, being in good community with people, other people that will build you up and support you. I think that will also, because if you're always by yourself and you're isolating,
Yes.
I think that's a bad place to be, and you can convince yourself that you have problems that you don't have.
Right there.
because you're
Hang
by
on that
yourself.
one. Hang on that one right there. Proverbs 12:25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down, but a good word by a friend or whatever makes him glad.
That's good.
If you guys are hearing something, we're getting some weather up here.
Yeah, some rain
on the mountain.
And that's peaceful.
It's pouring. It is. It's nice.
It is.
I love it, and I love how even how God created the earth to rain all the impurities away, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about health and kind of allowing God to take the impurities out of our lives, spiritually, physically, and mentally.
I just hope everybody out there heard something.
I think during COVID, we all maybe a lot of us developed a couple bad habits, during that time. I know I did. And, I wasn't exercising. I bought the gym equipment, like I said, but I wasn't using it. And, we can do a lot with habit, a lot. And so, yeah, I think that we're done right now, but we're going to be back next week. And we're going to talk more about just how mental and spiritual health and physical health, tie together, and what we can do.
We're going to start out next week talking about sugar.
Yeah, okay.
I want to
Sounds good.
talk about sugar a lot.
We will. It's my favorite topic, I think.
And then we'll get into mental
sweet
mental
love
health if we
sugar.
want to
I
talk
like
more.
sugar, yeah. I'm a work in progress. I told Tom I'm going to go ahead and, I don't think I'm going to do this, but I said I think I'm going to post a before picture on Facebook right now.
You don't have to. You're on the podcast live. This is your before picture.
This is my before picture.
This is
You
it.
can
Well,
see
go eat a big piece of pie right now
See my
and
gut.
do your Red Bull right now, because we're going to talk about sugar next week.
I'm
And we're going to
at
talk about EMFs. We're going to talk about VOCs. We have a lot to talk to you about.
I'm hoping that these guys will keep me accountable because I need to lose some body fat and I need to get in shape. So
Just need to get healthy. Just healthy.
healthy, yeah. So anyway, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
we love you guys.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.
You're all grown up, no longer a pup, and going out into the great unknown. You'll find that little piece of you that you can call your own. You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You're like a piece of heaven in a hurricane. And it's bubbling over like sweet champagne. You got your mama's sunshine, you got your daddy's rain. You got your mama's sunshine, you got got your daddy's ring.